And a very special thank you to our Patreon subscribers.
Hey fam, Newman here from Movies for Days, your non-pretentious easy access movie chat podcast and weekly deep dive into any film from any genre, from any decade with anybody's guess as to how we chose that movie that week. Proud member of the You Run Podcast Network. Check us out where all great podcasts can be heard. And on Twitter at MoviesDays. Movies is spelled regular, Days is spelled with a Z.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Horrific Heroes. As always, I am Steve, and with me, we got Rob.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. We had a little bit of a break. Things have been a little crazy. My husband is recovering from surgery. We all got a little sick, so we had a bit of a week off.
Yeah.
But we're back with a film to discuss with you guys today. Psycho Goreman. I see you've got your Psycho Goreman swag.
Yep, from Cavity Colors.
Yeah, well, we do love that store. We're not sponsored by them, but we do love them.
No, unfortunately, yeah.
No, they got a lot of good stuff. So, given that you have this shirt, I'm assuming this is one that you really enjoyed.
Oh, yes, very much so. This was one of those ones that when I first saw the trailer for it is when I fell in love with it. I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks like such a great movie. And I literally bought it on digital. I never do this. I always wait for the disc. Usually because the disc has digital copies. Not always, but most of the time. But this was one of those moments where I wasn't sure at first if they were going to have a disc. No disc had been announced. So I bought it on digital as soon as it came out because I had to see it, and watched it like 3 times in the first week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I fell in love with it pretty quickly.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, this was not one I watched right when it came out. I feel like I remember seeing the trailer. It did the festival circuit, I think, for a little bit. And then I had kind of came to it a little bit after that. But I knew right away that this was probably going to be a film that I enjoyed. And rightfully so. It sort of right off the bat gave me a Power Ranger vibes.
Yeah.
With a lot of the lore and the costuming. I just dug it. It really just had so many nods to Toku, but also weird 80s films, and it also just sort of felt like a comic book film too, right?
Yeah. No, this is it. I know that there were a lot of people who compared it to Power Rangers when it first came out because of the suits and the lore and everything like that. It definitely has that Power Rangers vibe. Power Rangers came out like slightly after, like right around the time I turned 18, somewhere around there. So I was already like past the prime age for that show to be grabbing people. So I never got hooked into Power Rangers.
Yeah.
But I'm an old school Godzilla and Ultraman person. And so that kind of played into that for me.
Yeah. Well, that's all under. So for those that don't know, so in Japan, the whole umbrella is tokusatsu. So that, which is just Japanese for special effects. So Godzilla really sort of being the one of, if not the first, tokusatsu properties, and then obviously Ultraman, Super Sentai is in Japan, which is what gets adapted into Power Rangers, and there's also Kamen Rider, which they've tried to bring over to the U.S. A couple of times as Masked Rider. But never really took off quite as much. There's been other ones that people probably remember. Beetleborgs, VR Troopers is another one from the 90s. They've tried. Power Rangers is the only one that really stuck in the superhero realm. But obviously Godzilla is that's a global phenomenon. So that's probably the most popular Toku property.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of, Godzilla, Power Rangers, and then Ultraman. And only because and Ultraman would have been above Power Rangers, but Power Rangers was like that weird 90s phenomenon that kind of overtook it. Ultraman was like 70s. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Ultraman was right around the time of like Speed Racer,
yeah.
right? Like around, yeah. And then just then we don't. Netflix has been bringing up some Ultraman stuff. Like I know they just had an
Yeah.
animated film. I think I don't know how well it's doing on the platform, but they
I
just had
think
an
they
animated
just
film.
I think they just either there's something new coming for that, maybe a second season for the um animated show or maybe something live action. I'm not
Yeah.
positive. I just saw something where somebody was talking about coming back for something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the movie just came out. Obviously, yeah, it has the anime as well, and yeah, so there, I think just because of streaming and different platforms,
Right.
Shout Factory, which for horror
Yeah.
fans, Scream Factory, Shout Factory has a lot of Toku stuff out there. So if that's something that you're interested in, go. They have so for Toku Shoutsu, which is their sort of platform for it. If it's something you're interested in, they have Godzilla stuff on there, but they also have a lot of like the Super Sentai, the Ultraman, all that kind of stuff is on there as well. But yeah, so if Psycho Gorman is something you really enjoyed and you kind of want to see a lot of these intro
Right.
influences, definitely check those out. But getting to Psycho Gorman, what what is your first few takeaways from it? What did you really enjoy as far as like the nods and what were like the highlights of this film for you?
Yeah. No, I think what really made it work for me is I'm a horror comedy person. And it stuff like that, like the Evil Dead series and Shaun of the Dead, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That kind of, very funny, very silly, but also very gory.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where Psycho Gorman sits, is in this really goofy but really gory area that really works well for me. And I think that's where it spoke to me.
Yeah, like if you take like a Sam Raimi, although technically was gonna take a Sam Raimi superhero movie, but he technically did do superhero movies.
Yeah.
But if he took Evil Dead Sam Raimi and made a
Yeah.
superhero thing out of it, like this is sort of what you would get.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, at least it has a similar feeling. Maybe not completely, but it definitely has a similar feeling in terms of just at least with the humor and the gore. I know there's
Yeah.
a lot of people who just didn't vibe with this. I've been hyping it up since it came out, and my son and his wife watched it and they hated it.
Oh,
So I was just like, "All right." I've
yeah.
talked to a couple other people and they're just like, "Yeah, we don't like this movie." I'm like,
Oh,
"Why? What's so wrong with this movie?" But
yeah.
and I get it. My son, his major part was like he really didn't like um the main character, the girl. I'm blanking on her name at the moment. Mimi. Um, they didn't really like her, and that detracted her because she's just such a horrible little kid. And so I get it, but that's what appeals to me. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are going in and out a little bit, by the way. So maybe leave
Okay.
in a little. Yeah, yeah. Or if you could bring the mic to you like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me a little Rob ASMR.
Right.
um,
Hi, everybody.
yes, I love it. So yeah, no, Mimi is a she's a tough character to root for.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
because she's an
She's
absolute brat.
horrible.
She's a horrible person.
Well, and that's the thing though too, is it gets into that whole aspect of, do you have to like a character to um enjoy that character? And do characters have to be likable and whatnot? And I don't think so. I mean, you can root for
No.
bad guys. You can like there's plenty of times where I'm rooting for somebody like some criminal to win in some movie because they're the main character and that's what you
Yeah.
want to happen, and so I think that's the same thing with Mimi as well. As she's definitely a horrible character, and you're not really rooting for her necessarily, but um but that's kind of the fun of it. You're just enjoying just how horrible she is.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think because, PG is a killer, and just wants to
yeah.
destroy the world.
Yeah.
It kind of makes
The
sense that she
universe,
relates to him, right? Because she's not a good
right?
person. So it's kind of like they have that in common. They're not great people. I mean, you do root for the brother. I think the brother is very sympathetic here. The parents
Yeah.
are horrible.
The
But
parents are horrible.
the parents are horrible. They're idiots. The sister's horrible. The brother's the only one that's kind of likable. And I mean, I also just feel bad for the friend. What the hell was his
Oh my
name?
god, Alistair. Yeah.
Alistair. Oh my god. I
The
love
poor kid.
Alistair. So yeah, so that, which is a great segue to like some of my favorite stuff is like the humor, the lines in this.
Yeah.
Um I love when they first introduce Alistair to PG and they're leaving and Alistair goes, "It's great meeting you." And PG goes, "It'd be better if you were dead." Or like, "It'd be
He's like,
greater if you were dead."
yeah, and then he kind of looks out the side and he's like, "Okay, bye."
Okay, bye. It's so funny.
No, and
Um,
that's what makes it fun is just the sheer absurdity of it. Like
yeah,
all of this is very absurd. And and that's the funny thing. You go back to what we were talking about with Mimi and why while she's not a likable character, she's compelling because in her PG has met his match, because
yeah,
she is just a horrible person wanting him to be her friend.
yeah.
And she doesn't mind that he's like literally this psychotic killer from outer space.
No,
So
no, like totally irreverent, like to that fact. And like, yeah, she tries to like subdue him, right? So they find like, so yeah, so like the real nods here. So I love this, like, so they get PG out of this like space dumpster, which is the lore for Rita Repulsa in Power Rangers, is that she's
okay,
trapped in a space dumpster, and these astronauts open it up on the moon, and she's out. So like they just like,
that's
oh, look at
funny.
this gem, and then the thing opens up and then he's out. And that's why I just love that like direct reference there. But so she like uses this gem to like enslave him, which again
Right,
parallels the whole lore, right? Because his whole motivation was that he was enslaved by, so this is where all the crazy lore comes in, the Templars on the planet of Gygax.
right.
uh and so he gains this power and then rebels and like frees himself from bondage and all of that. But yeah, so she's just like bossing him around like she bosses her brother.
Yeah, no, her whole family is basically subservient to her. And it makes sense that then, you know, PG would be just as subservient to her once she had power over him. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
it's
know.
it's just ridiculous. It's hilarious.
And the funny thing is too, like this is also a little bit of like a slice of life story as well.
Yeah.
Very much just like, because the plot doesn't really kick in. Like the plot's kind of happening in the background a little bit
Right.
as like the Templars are like looking for him and they plan to go get him. And then but really it's ultimately like them just befriending him for like a big chunk of the
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
And so you get this very like it's like just a buddy sort of almost like coming of age, very like Sandlot or like, those kinds of movies.
No, it's definitely a loving ode to the 80s.
Yeah.
Like the 80s kid movies like a Stand by Me or Goonies or some such like that. It's got little touchstones to those kind of things like they've got a whole musical sequence in the middle like where
Mhm.
Mimi is singing a song and PG's playing the drums. It's just it's so goofy. And then there's the rest of the montage is him like getting dressed up in Earth clothes, uh,
Yeah. I
and
love that they
landing
end
on an
up.
outfit. Yeah, landing on an outfit that's Alan Grant from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that is so funny. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
the blue shirt with like the red like ascot scarf
yeah,
thing.
scarf. Yeah, the
But it's
glasses.
so
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
so silly. And
Yeah.
that's another aspect that I love about this is not is the the physical, the practical effects,
Hmm.
because in this day and age of digital, which isn't bad if when used correctly, but when you've got enough practical, and the director Steven Kostansky, he's comes from a practical effects background, and him and a bunch of these other guys in this group called Astron 6 make all these weird or they made short movies and then have made some longer movies, and this was kind of part of that. The guy who plays the dad in this, um his name is Adam Brooks. He's acted and directed in some of the movies as well.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, so
that's awesome.
it's like a group collective type thing where they all come up with ideas and such like that. But
Yeah.
excuse
You know, like, yeah, no, definitely, like, to bring up the practical versus digital effects,
me. Yeah,
kind of debate, and I think yeah, definitely practical sort of just lasts longer, it ages better. It doesn't necessarily
yeah,
doesn't date the movie. I mean, obviously, there's techniques with prosthetics and things,
right,
right? Like, because Power Rangers is practical, Sentai is practical, but you can tell it's a person in a suit, right? Like,
right, right,
but I think there's a way you do it.
right,
The time, the kind of latex, the kind of makeup, the kind of depends on how how much time and effort you put into it.
right,
So pay your artists and go practical, y'all.
right.
But yeah, no, it looks so good, and I love. Well, just speaking of the practical, right? So the big sort of battle scene that we get is the first battle scene between PG and kind of his former minions,
Yeah,
right? Who sort of turn on him.
right. They want his
Uh,
power.
those designs were straight out of Super Sentai, I
Oh yeah.
feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I felt the most like direct nod to the Super Sentai Power Rangers type of stuff right there was that fight. Because it just felt like um that that whole sequence was just exactly ripped from that
Yeah.
era.
And like those monster designs, right? Like you had the one, he would throw little tomes, like stone tomes and tablets, and
Yeah.
that was his weapon. You had like the witch, where the
Yeah.
mouth wouldn't move for a lot of them, and it,
You had the
um,
bucket with all the body parts in it and would squirt blood out of it.
yeah. Well, that was a little darker than you would see in Sentai for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Although there are some mature ones out there.
Yeah.
There's one called Garo, I think. That's like a little bit more of like a mature Sentai
Okay.
series. So like they do go there sometimes, depending on the rating and where it's
Right.
who it's
Well,
geared
and that's
toward.
what I yeah, and I think that's what they're going for here is they're going for they're saying, "Look, we love that, era of Toku, but we want to make a new version of it, a goofy American version of it that's really, really gory and
Yeah.
really adult. But we're going to throw kids in there, just like you know,
Yeah.
Power Rangers did and everything. So we're going to have some human protagonists as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. But that whole fight sequence was great. And he takes them all down. I love his sword, right? His sword made of like bone and flesh, and like you can probably see
right.
it. You can see it in the background back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh man, it's just so gritty. And Matt, is it his body? I guess that it was no. He makes a
No,
sword version out of the Templar,
he
right?
out of the Templar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it matches him for some reson. I don't know if that's just a design choice by them, but I guess it's just to say that he's made of like he's mostly like muscle and like gooey flesh.
Right.
But yeah, and then so the family dynamic, while 3 out of the 4 of them are horrible. The mom's always yelling at the dad's a
Right.
lazy piece of crap, which he is. But
Yeah.
they're all just so mad at each other all the time. They're very like hands-off parents too. Very like these are latchkey kids to a T.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, if you had Mimi as a child, it'd be kind of hard to control her anyway.
Oh,
So
100%. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I love that they sort of use this then dynamic to further the story a little bit, right? Because there's a point where the family is turned against each other.
Right.
literally, right? So like, so the Templars who, know that he's on Earth, they come to sort of destroy him, try to like separate the family, right? So the main
Right.
Templar, she's like disguising herself as a human, try to get the mom on her side. Dad sides with the son. The mom's off doing her own thing.
Yeah.
They give her power. The mom transforms, so we get like a transformation, which is very Sentai.
Right.
And then we get this like, yeah, then we get this sort of like ultimate like final battle
Right.
towards the end there. But yeah, I'm trying to think any other like real highlights. I know, not to like deviate from the humor too much. I also loved he likes his hunky boys. That was another thing I really
Right.
enjoyed.
No, that was like, and that's one of the funny things too, is like when it first came out, that was one of those ones that people latched onto really early, is the hunky boy thing and everything. And just kind of like the positivity of that. And it as what was I gonna say? There was I did want to mention about the Templars too, because we're talking about how he's got to fight these Templars and everything like that. The Templars are not good.
No, no, they're bad people too.
Like like that's the funny thing in this. Nobody in this whole movie is good at all, except for maybe the brother. Um,
Yeah,
but it's everybody else in this movie is just terrible. The Templars are this religious, like universal religious sect or whatever like that, that's basically forcing their religion onto every planet that they go to. And that's what ended up happening with Psycho Gorman, is that they were on his planet and they were making his people
yeah,
like dig up whatever and and work for them under their boot. And that's when he rebels against them and ends up, taking it too far in his way too. But yeah, it's just, yeah, I
yeah,
just wanted to clarify that, that the Templars were not good
yeah,
people.
yeah. Full big takeaway. No one is good in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody.
Well, and
Uh,
what I did like was also the council, that whole council. And this brings into some more of that practical effects. You get this council of these different aliens, I guess
yeah,
representing different alien planets or whatever like that. And it was just fun just to have all these goofy different characters with all the different makeups and masks and everything. It
yeah.
made for a real it just makes for a really fun movie.
Yeah, the work. I mean, yeah, I mean, it can't be
Yeah.
understated. Like the makeup and the costuming in this movie is just so impressive. What a team here. Like to have such a variety as well. In not just PG and the Templars, the Council, PGs like minions, like everyone. There's just so many unique designs here, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. They've the work that was done in this independent movie is just like it cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
Just
Why
how
join on
how
to
crazy this is.
Yeah, let's see. Costume design by Maddie Styles, right? Makeup, Alan Cook, Todd Masters, Nicole Rodriguez, Jen Tate. Like, yeah, this team. Oh, I'm not gonna go through everybody. There's a huge special effects team, huge visual
Yeah,
effects team, big art department. But yeah, so makeup folks that and costume design, yeah, Maddie Styles. So huge group of folks. So like,
right,
damn, like hire them people.
right.
Let them
Yeah,
make more movies like this because this is freaking top tier.
yeah. No, I'd love to see a sequel to this as well. I mean,
Yeah, that
you
would be
know,
that would be cool. Um,
I mean,
big
it's great as a one and done, but if they did do a sequel, I'd be up for it too.
Yeah, like Templars are done. Well, the council just
Yeah,
sort of gave up, right? They all like off themselves, right?
yeah.
They're like, all right, I guess we're good.
Yeah. I love that it was just like a real gun too, like an earth revolver and stuff. And it wasn't just like some alien weapon. It was just like an earth revolver. The weirdest thing. It's so funny. And that's just the
Yeah,
littlest weird touches and everything that make this movie just for me, for it works so well.
yeah. I forget what they call that. Not like is it asynchronatic? When something is out of the time, right? Or something is out of like I forget what they call that. It's like when you have a
Yeah,
period piece with modern music, it's just when something just doesn't fit, but it's also just sort of used to either like as a gag like that,
right.
or
Anachronistic.
like that's always fun.
Yeah, I think it's anachronistic. Yeah.
Anachronistic. There you go. Yeah. Like that. Why would they have
No,
this revolver? I mean, I guess they know where Earth is, right? Because if they put them there,
right, right. Yeah, maybe they
if they
grabbed a
know where they
revolver whenever they did that.
are.
Uh,
But yeah, I know a sequel would be interesting. I don't know where I would want them to take it. Like, if PG is taking over the world, right? Because then it cuts to it's like PG
he's
defeats the
destroying the world,
Templar.
not taking over the world. Yeah.
What?
He's destroying the world, not taking over the world, because he doesn't care to
Take
rule.
over,
He just
destroy.
wants to destroy everything.
He just wants to wipe it out. Right. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Right.
yeah,
Takeover is the wrong phrase for sure. He's just destroying things. So like when they cut to like he teleports away, he goes through a portal, but it's just to another part of the planet. You
yeah,
think he'd just be going, to a different planet somewhere. No, he's like, you guys will be okay. I'm just gonna go
yeah.
destroy the rest of the Earth. Um, and then what's the family gonna do? Like build a farm? Like I don't.
Right.
Like,
Well, and
okay.
that's what's interesting about it too, is because during the whole course of the movie, he's basically threatening the whole family, like he's going to kill them all and everything, because he, that's what he does, and he's pissed that she's had control over him the whole time. But as they're going through the movie and everything, the family, as 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 weird as this family is with each other, they do love each other, and by the end of it, like, they really are showing their love for each other and showing PG that there is, that people can be loved or whatever. And so, he's kind of grown fond of this family, and so he's just like, yes, I will save you. I will spare you. Um
Mhm.
and so, but I'll destroy the rest of the world. so
Right.
so it's definitely uh a weird it's just such a bizarre movie.
Yeah.
It's so hard to explain. You really just have to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a sequel would be cool. It's like if he's faced against like some different foe or a remnant of the Templars. I would like to see a movie maybe on a different planet.
Yeah, yeah.
That would
Yeah,
be cool. Like
especially
back
just,
to
I mean, go hog wild with the effects,
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
get a
Just go to
bigger
Gygax
budget for it.
again,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the family comes along and it's like a family road trip movie.
Yeah, there you
In
go.
space. I feel like that's another sort of 80s family movie subgenre that
Yeah.
they could play with.
Yeah, that'd be a lot
Um,
of fun.
yeah. Remember that movie? This I don't know if it was the 80s or the 90s. I think was it called Carpool?
I don't know.
Was it with Dan Aykroyd? Hold on. What was this movie? Hold on. Carpool. Tom
I don't
Arnold.
remember that. Oh, okay.
It was 96. I mean, not a great movie, but it was just like one of those like typical like Tom Arnold movies, and like Ray Perlman plays like a mall cop in it because they're like driving the station wagon through a mall.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I missed that one.
I mean, maybe get a little under the influence and enjoy it for what it is. I've not probably have not watched it since the 90s, so I cannot tell
Right.
you if it holds up. But something wild like
Probably
that,
does
but in
not. Yeah.
space would be fun.
Right, right. Maybe a little National Lampoon's Vacation in space.
There you go. That's probably a more accurate analogy than carpool.
Right.
But yeah. Any other thoughts on Psycho Gorman before we start to wrap up this episode?
Oh man. I would suggest people go watch the trailer. And if you watch the trailer and you get a good vibe off of that you want to see it, then definitely watch it. It's got, unlikable characters. It's got, you know,
Mhm.
lots of fun sight gags, lots of gore. If you're into all that. And the best thing ever, it's got an end credits wrap that tells you all about the whole movie that you just watched. Just like movies from the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, it's just summarize the
PG
movie in a
wrap.
wrap. I love
Yep.
it. That's yeah, yes. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. Just go in knowing you're not gonna like any of these characters, but you're gonna have fun. You're gonna have fun with it. Just even if just for the special effects alone, it's a really fun ride. Yep.
And the reason why we, obviously, if you haven't caught it by now, the reason why we talked about this on Horrific Heroes is because it's tied to that genre, that the Super Sentai and all of that. So
Yeah.
just no going in that's its real lineage right there, is like the monster and Super Sentai stuff of the past, and it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
loving ode to that. So,
Absolutely. And we'll definitely probably cover more Sentai adjacent stuff. Definitely Godzilla. We'll have to have Angel on for those. She adores the Godzilla movies. Maybe we'll tackle some of the old stuff. Maybe we can talk about the original Godzilla. Would be really cool. Definitely some of the newer stuff. And then some of the Sentai too. There's definitely like I mentioned Garo. I think that kind of goes into horror as well. And that's the thing too. A lot of the Toku did dabble in horror, which was pretty
right.
cool to see. Especially the earlier stuff. The newer stuff's very flashy, very like family friendly Power Rangers. But like when you were looking at like the 70s and the 80s, some of the monster designs were pretty gritty, considering it
Right.
was like for families. Uh, and so it's there's a whole world there, which is really cool. So I'm sure it'll definitely come up in future episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm,
I can imagine we'll be talking about some of this uh, more in the future for sure.
definitely. All right. Well, thanks for checking out this episode of Horrific Heroes. We will be back in 2 weeks discussing Spawn. So read up. I'm reading up. I'm doing my homework. And yeah, that's going to be a fun one. So we will see you then. Till then, check us out here. Voice of the Mausoleum. Rob over at if
Creepy and geeky.
Creepy and Geeky. Sorry, I was like, I swear I know what
Yeah.
your show is. I just stumble on my words. Creepy and Geeky. You can follow him at Geek Thulu, right? Okay, got
Yep.
that one right.
Yeah.
I didn't stumble
You
on
can
that.
just find all my stuff at geekthulu.com and creepyandgeeky.com.
Fantastic. And we will catch you next time. Take care.